This is Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the weeks of February 22nd to March 21st, 2026.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Kevin Batchelder.
I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And I'm Brent Barrett.
All right. Been a few weeks since we had a chance to record, so we got a lot to catch you folks up on. We appreciate you sticking with us. And hopefully, as usual, we're going to have some fun. So thanks for taking the time to download or stream or however you're working the magic to listen to us.
And I think we might have a contest soon, too, Kevin. Stay tuned.
Yeah, we're putting together some information on that. So, as the saying goes, stay tuned, folks. That's a tease for you. All right, with lots to cover, let's get ready. Let's go ahead and jump into the water cooler.
Hi, I'm Mike White.
And I'm Rob St. Mary.
And we're the hosts of the Projection Booth podcast.
If you haven't heard of the Projection Booth, that's okay.
But we think it's time that you have.
We've been doing this for over 3 years now.
And we think we're doing a pretty good show.
Every week we look at a different film and put it in context.
We try to bring you interviews with the people behind the films.
Or experts on a subject matter covered in the film.
We don't specialize in any one particular genre or type of film.
We try to examine every aspect of cinema.
From every corner of the globe.
Even at 3 years, we barely just scratched the surface.
But we're ready. We're ready for you to listen to us.
That's right. Now's the time to give us a shot.
Download us through our free smartphone app.
Or through Stitcher, iTunes, Geek Juice Radio, Jackalow.
Or our website.
Projection-booth.com.
We'll keep making great shows.
Now it's your turn to listen to them.
All right, kicking things off, we've got our quick reviews, and we've got about close to 4 weeks worth to catch you up on here. So several shows, several episodes. We're looking at February, things that aired February the 22nd through March the 21st. Let's start off with School Spirits. We got the last 2 episodes of season 3. We had episode 7, Mid-Somester, and episode 8, Dawn of the Deb. And I'd say they were both very strong. I'd say very high watch it soons for me.
I would go high watch it soon, almost low watch it now.
Yeah, I'm going to go high watch it soon for both as well.
Excellent. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that a little bit later. And also we have Star Trek Starfleet Academy, last 3 episodes of its inaugural season. So episode 8, The Life of the Stars, episode 9, 300th Night, and episode 10, Rubicon. Surprisingly, at least to me, I enjoyed all 3 of these. I'd say they're solid watch it soon, maybe a couple up in the high watch it soon.
Yeah, I would say maybe the last 2 were high watch it soon, and the first one was watch it soon.
And I'm not watching anymore.
Okay. We also had the season finale for the first season of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So that was episode number 6, The Morrow. I'm not watching, though.
I can't remember what I graded it way back when we recorded it, but for the small council, but I would say it was a low watch it now.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Low watch it now.
Excellent. All right. We had a few episodes of Ghosts in here. We're in season 5. We had episode 11, The Others. Episode 12, The List. And episode 13, St. Hetty's Day. St. Hetty's Day 2, The Help. As far as ratings go for these 3, I would say watch it soon and then 2 high watch it soons.
Kevin, you're reading my mind. I am in complete agreement.
Okay, I'm a little weird then. I'm going to go high watch it soon for the first one, then a watch it soon, and follow up by a high end watch it soon again.
Oh, all right. Pretty close.
Yeah,
close.
we're all in the same place, pretty much.
All right. Next up, we have Paradise had come back for season 2. We've actually had 6 episodes since we last recorded, since I dropped, I think, 3 or 4 on the first day. So season 2, episode 1 was Graceland. Episode 2, Mayday. Episode 3, Another Day in Paradise. Episode 4, A Holy Charge. Episode 5, The Mailman. And episode 6, Jane. And I think we're going to talk about this a little bit in Back Porch, but I'm not loving season 2 at all, which, we'll talk about why maybe a little later. Most of these are going to go in the let it sit or very low watch it soon category for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty much low watch it sometime as well.
Yeah, I'm going to, I haven't watched this yet, and I'm kind of doing that expression, I think, where you wipe your brow and you go, whoo, because Kevin's saying it's no good.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the whys, I think, in the back porch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Brent might also say, whew, dodged a bullet. Okay. Moving up, though, something definitely stronger. We've got Monarch back, Legacy of Monsters. We're in season 2 now. First episode of the season was Cause and Effect. Episode 2 was Resonance. Episode 3 was Secrets. And episode 4 was Trespass. The first 2, I'd say hi watch it soon. The next 2, I'd just go down a little notch to watch it soon.
Kevin, you're reading my mind. Actually, the first one I would even say was a low watch it now, and then a high watch it soon. And the other 2 have just been, watch it soon.
I am new to this series, as listeners will know and my co-hosts know. I didn't watch season 1. I just watched kind of a summary of season 1, and I jumped in on season 2, and I thoroughly have enjoyed these first 4. I'm going to give them all a high-end watch it soon.
Oh, that's awesome. Great to have you on the same pace with us, Brent. Looking forward to talking about it. All right, the next show we had return was Invincible. We're in season 4 now, folks. We had the first 3 episodes drop. Episode 1, Making the World a Better Place. Episode 2, I'll Give You the Grand Tour. And episode 3, I Gotta Get Some Air. This is not one that I'm watching, though.
Yeah, I haven't seen this either.
I did check them out. I'd give the first episode back a watch it soon, a good solid watch it soon. The second episode, I'd say low watch it now. But for the most recent one, the third one, I'd go back to a watch it soon.
Alrighty. And then finally, for the quick reviews, we had season 2 of One Piece drop on Netflix. And so far, I've watched the first half of the season, which is 4 episodes. It's an 8-episode season. And I'll talk very briefly a little bit in the back porch about it. But essentially, at this point, ratings-wise, I'd say we're up a notch, certainly from season 1. I'd say overall, so far, it's a high watch it soon for me.
Oh, nice. I am not watching this.
I'm glad to hear your rating, Kevin, because I had planned on watching this. I just haven't had the time yet, so I will definitely give it a try.
Excellent. All right. Looking forward when you get a chance to. Hopefully I'll get caught up and we can talk about it on an upcoming show. All right. Since it's been a few weeks since we recorded, we do have several news items and some listener feedback. We'll kick off with the listener feedback first, and it's a voicemail from Jesse Jackson in Dallas, Texas. He's talking about the earliest memory Tuner Minute.
Calling about Brent's Tuner Minute. The moment he asked that question, I thought back to Saturday mornings, the New Adventures of Superman. I grew up reading comic books, and just seeing that Man of Steel flying across my TV felt like magic. This is a job for Superman. That and so many other cartoon shows were my gateway. Bright colors, bold heroes. It just was amazing. I'm also old enough to remember Batman during its original run, Lost in Space with its campy charm and all that. Danger, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson. And if we think I Dream of Jeannie was genre, and also Barbie Eden was awful cute. I can remember watching it when my dad was stationed in Fort Knox, and when he was in Vietnam, I can remember watching, the Batman and Time Tunnel and all these other shows that were just so amazing to me. So, but I do think that Saturday morning cartoons really was our entrance to this whole world of science fiction. I mean, we got superheroes, fantasy, and even a little horror. Looking at you, Scooby-Doo. So these were just amazing, and I think that would be my earliest memory. I can remember, gosh, I'm ranting now, but Time Tunnel was the first show I couldn't wait to watch in color, because we had a black and white set, and then when we moved to color, I just couldn't wait to see the Time Tunnel in color. So, great Tuner Minute, which brought back some great memories. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thanks, Jesse. That was an awesome voicemail message, bringing back the memories with all the different names of the shows. For me, almost all of those were part of my after-school viewings, on syndication on my UHF channels here in the Boston area. Watching all of those, having fun with them to some degree, some more than others. So, yeah, kind of taking the focus of the Saturday morning side of it. We've all talked about the impacts that made for all of us. So great stuff. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Jesse, that was great to hear from you. I do not remember Time Tunnel. I'm going to have to go look for some YouTube videos of it or something. You've mentioned it. Brent has mentioned it before in the past, and just nothing comes up in the memory banks when I hear that. The other thing is, you were talking about Saturday cartoons was, the Jetsons very much for me. I'm still waiting for that flying car and the maid to be cleaning my house for me. But also, I wanted to give a shout out to Almighty Isis because, Wonder Woman was prime time. Almighty Isis was Saturday mornings. It probably didn't get as much love, but I was at the movies this weekend, and they had a preview for Masters of the Universe, and He-Man and She-Ra was also something I really liked as a kid as well. So thank you for sharing your comments. It brought back a lot of nice memories.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. Yeah, Saturday morning cartoons is a biggie. It's something I forgot about when I was doing our discussion of it before. But just like Wendy, Super Friends and ISIS. I loved ISIS too. Great stuff. I also really am glad that you mentioned I Dream of Jeannie, because that was one that went right past me as well. I probably started watching that around the same time, if not earlier, than the Star Trek reruns. So there's a lot of good stuff. Jetsons, all bunch of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And Time Tunnel is like so core and foundational to my the genre-ness of me and my love for the subgenre of time travel that it's just, it's surprising to me to hear that somebody's never seen it. But also I'm excited that if Wendy might actually check a little bit of it out, even though it probably doesn't age terribly well. I have watched it. It is very much a product of its time. It's the 60s. So you got to have that in mind.
Oh, yeah. I watched some episodes of Wonder Woman, and it was definitely a product of its time. But I'm glad I'm glad I saw some of it.
Good memories. Good memories. Appreciate those. Thanks, Jesse. All right, moving into some news items. We're going to have Wendy tell us about the renewal of the week, if you will.
Yeah, so Paradise, which is the show on Hulu that stars Sterling K. Brown, has been renewed for season 3, and there was some question about what was going to happen because Hulu merged with Disney, and I think this show is also produced somehow tied into the changes with CBS and Paramount as well. So there is going to be a season 3. I know we're going to talk about season 2 in the back porch. The showrunner, though, has said they know the end, and it's an end that would make it very difficult for there to be a season 4. So I'm assuming that season 3 will be the conclusion of it as well.
When I first saw this article appear on our list, I thought to myself, well, I'll tell everybody how excited I am that it's coming back because I'm about to jump into season 2. But then Kevin said he didn't like it, so I'm not sure I'm going to even care. But it's good news, I guess. It's good news anytime a genre show gets renewed.
Yeah, and I know Wendy and I and some other folks, too, after season 1, were kind of like, I'm not sure how much story there is still here to tell.
Yeah.
There was interesting bits in season 1, but by the tack they took in season 2, yeah, they definitely are like, what are we going to do for a story? So let's totally go in a different direction. So yes, the fact it got a season 3, I'm glad for, because I'm kind of slogging through season 2. But if they've got a known end in mind, there could be some interesting bits there. So, this is one of those. It's probably good news. And I look forward to giving it a shot once we get through season 2, and hoping season 2 bounces up a bit in its latter half.
Yeah, we'll talk in the back porch.
Yep. All right, moving on to some good news. Brent's going to tell us about some very exciting stuff.
Yes, the news of the century, or, well, maybe not the century, but the news of the long while. Firefly. We've all been hearing the rumors, at least I hope you have, of some kind of Firefly thing is being created. And we now know what that thing is. It's going to be an animated series voiced by the original cast that is still with us. And it's going to be, Nathan Fillion's kind of driving the whole thing. Alan Tudyk's helping him out. But it's his production banner that's kind of driving it in partnership with 20th Century Animation. And we recall 20th Century owns the rights to it. Joss Whedon doesn't own the rights, but he did ask Joss Whedon if it was okay if he did it. And Joss said, yeah, you have my blessing. But Joss is not involved in it. They're going to get Mark Guggenheim, who was behind Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow, as well as Tara Butters, I don't know how to pronounce her name, who was behind or involved in Agent Carter and Reaper. I liked both of those shows. They're a married couple, and they're doing the show running of this animated series. They've already completed an initial script. They don't know yet where it's going to air, though, or when. That's what they're hoping to do, is talk to different outlets and give it a home somewhere. So they need everybody to go out and, engage with announcements and like them and love them and things so that they can show those numbers to studios, potential streamers, and say, hey, look, there's a lot of people interested in this. Of course, it does mean, since they're setting it between the events at the end of the series and the movie Serenity, that gives them about, according to Nathan, it gives them about 8 months to play with, which could be a lot of stories if they don't jump ahead too much between episodes in time. If they don't jump a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks between episodes, if they do it like every day or a couple of days or something, they do a story, they could be going for quite a while. So that's good news there. Of course, like I said, not every character will be voiced by its original actor. Of course, Shepherd Book, unfortunately, Ron Glass has passed. And there's a great interview, we're going to link to it here as well, where he's asked, Fillion is asked about, so Shepherd's going to be represented, and Fillion says, oh, absolutely. And he gives this really funny story where Ron Glass once joked that he didn't get a part where they were looking for a Ron Glass type, and he said, here we are again, we're looking for a Ron Glass type, and it's not going to be Ron Glass. So I'm really looking forward to this. It sounds like it's going to be fun. Like I said, all the cast was excited to talk about it at a recent con, and they all look like they're really excited for it.
Yeah, this was some fun, exciting stuff. If you're not the type who is on social media, you may have missed some of the stuff. Nathan did a great job posting very short videos of him knocking on everybody's door, be they at home or on a set or wherever it was, and just teasing very general info, it's happening. Oh, okay, kind of stuff. And we didn't have any idea what it was going to be. Another show, another movie, an animated series, sock puppets, who knew? So they did a good job teasing this. And then, as you said, they had a big panel at a con with almost all of them there. That's when they announced the news. They also said, hey, talk this up, reshare it, like it, to kind of show the interest for just the reason Brent mentioned, that while they do have all of them involved and strong pedigree of showrunners and writers, they got to find a network. So we'll see there. But yeah, obviously very exciting many years later to have this many of them still interested and involved. Animated is probably the best way to go, as much as I may not be a huge animation fan. At this point, 20 years later, this is the way to kind of get them in there and have some fun stuff happen. So exciting stuff.
It is exciting stuff, and I don't know why animated wasn't my first thought, because it makes the most sense. We get, all the actors and the real voices, except for Ron Glass, of course. But it's a great idea. Wash is still with us too, which is lovely. And, these are very busy actors, so doing the voice thing is also, the best way to get the cast together to be able to work on this on a regular basis. So very exciting. I'm going to be curious to see who steps up to take this. It seems like it would be a great fit for Disney, as it continues to evolve. I could imagine it going to HBO too, because they have a lot of interesting animated series going on right now. But wherever it goes, I'll be watching.
I'm just kind of hoping it does not go to Netflix because they're brutal with shows. But anyway, I do love those. You talked about those little bits where Nathan was going around talking to everybody. I love the one with Adam Baldwin, though. That was hilarious because he brought the hat that, that Jane would wear. I think his mother knitted for him. And he brought one of those, and Adam Baldwin opens the door, and he's wearing one of them. So Nathan kind of comically looks at it and just tosses it off into the bushes and keeps talking to him. It was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, kudos, because they all were fun in their different ways. So that was a fun way to tease it. All right, moving on. I've got the bummer news of the week, and that is the fact that the Buffy continuation, whatever phrase people want to use, I won't say reboot, is not going to move forward at Hulu, which was shocking news based on, Sarah Michelle Gellar involved and some of the other pedigree of folks there. But nope, they announced it won't be moving forward beyond the pilot. The original articles from all of the trade side folks that you would see were very generic without much detail other than comments like, well, the pilot wasn't perfect and maybe it wasn't the right sensibility for the people involved or something. Since then, and we'll include links to both these articles, Sarah Michelle Gellar has come out specifically blaming one specific person, one of the producers, someone who has stated that he did not watch the original series and didn't seem all that interested, which, again, I guess I don't understand enough of the TV world if you're going to be a producer on a show, not to be all in on understanding the universe it's trying to be, but I guess that's business. So she's obviously not pleased. The timing didn't make a lot of sense. They dropped this news on like the same day, just a couple hours before Sarah was going out for a big press tour for the movie The Ready or Not 2, just before the Oscars, where the pilot's director was also up for some Oscars. So Hulu didn't do themselves any favors by when they chose to announce this, but I guess we'll see. There's still comments like, oh, well, we'll just have to look at it differently. So I don't know. A lot of mumbo jumbo in the background. The bottom line is we're not going to be getting anything soon.
Yeah, it's too bad because I read, the outline of the characters that we're going to have, and it looked pretty interesting. I also thought it was interesting that Sarah Gellar did come out and throw the producer under the bus around, being non-supportive. And I don't understand why. I don't think producers have to take projects. I think they have agency themselves. So be curious why they were associated with the project that they didn't back. But who knows? Maybe a better fit is coming, and that'd be great. Even if it's within Disney instead of Hulu.
Yeah. I got the impression that it could theoretically still go somewhere else, so I'm still hoping for that. And Sarah Michelle Gellar's comment, I didn't take it as she was saying this producer sabotaged us or this producer, terminated this thing or was involved in. I got the impression more she was saying he wasn't a good champion. He or she, I don't know who it wasn't a good champion. This person didn't fight for us, didn't actually, speak out and try to support the show, and that's what she's upset about.
Yeah, and with these kind of things, you got to have everybody pulling in the same direction. And even if all they did was pull their oars out of the boat, that's enough to sink you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but like we said, we'll try to take the positive spin and say, they still believe in the property. So hopefully it just takes another set of folks to give it that another shot. All right, moving on, we've got several trailers for content to share with you. Wendy's got the first one for an Apple TV show.
Yes, For All Mankind is coming back for season 5, and we have a link in the show notes to the trailer. I'm not watching this show, so the trailer looked really good to me, but I'm not watching the show yet. It's on my list, and unfortunately, the more seasons this show gets, the lower it goes on my list because I kind of feel the weight of how much I need to catch up. But I'm hoping that folks who are really into the show are excited and looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've not watched the show. I know that Jesse Jackson, for instance, one of our listeners who called in earlier, big fan. really enjoys it. So I'm really happy for him and people who are enjoying the show. It's just not one I have not gotten into. Mostly, I think because I didn't have Apple TV. I do have Apple TV now, but I'm still not like chomping at the bit to watch this one. Don't know why. Just have not watched it yet. So, but still great news.
Yeah, as you said, Wendy, the trailer certainly looks good, and this is still on my list. I won't say it's gone up or down as we get additional seasons. I mean, additional seasons show me that there's got to be some good stuff in here. Folks are still watching, and there's interest in it. So it's on the list, but hasn't moved up to the active side of things, shall we say, yet. But good to see for those who are fans. All right, next up, as we know, The Boys is coming soon, and Brent's got the final trailer to touch about.
Yes, this is the final season trailer for The Boys, which is a show that we have kind of a not love-hate, but love kind of disgust relationship with on this podcast. It's been a great show. There's been a couple seasons that are a little bit just like gross for the sake of being gross, which is kind of annoying. But overall, I think it's a good show with good characters. And we have a final season coming up April 8th on Prime Video. It's going to premiere. This trailer is full of a lot of good stuff. It's showing maybe everything's coming to a head, which it's done a few times before, but it looks like it's going to be for good, for keeps this time, between the good guys and the bad guys, if you want to call them that. And also, we get to see guest stars that we have been anticipating, maybe a brother from Supernatural appearing, and things of that nature, as well as, getting, Homelander's father back. And I'm not going to say it on here because it's a little too risque or too whatever, but love the scene where he thaws him out and brings him back. It's a great interaction between them. Yeah, it looks exciting, looks fun. I'm gonna definitely tune in on April 8th and see what they do with the show, because I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, as you mentioned, kind of up and down on my enjoyment of this show, but really hoping this final season goes out well, and looking forward to it for that reason. Some actors we recognize and know. There are some very interesting characters in this set. I know they're integrating the folks from the other show, from the university and all. So we're going to have a lot of interesting characters there, and I'd love to see some team ups and how it's going to go. So, yeah, this just got me even more exciting, and we're down to a little over a month before it comes back.
Yeah, this trailer and this show in general always does a good job between seasons of making me less critical of the things that Brent talked about that are some of his weaknesses and looking forward to seeing the characters. This trailer did a good job of that, especially as you pointed out, Kevin, that we're going to bring the younger generation in to team up as well, and hopefully it's going to have a satisfying conclusion. I know that there's other spin-offs that they might be doing, but this might be the end for me in this universe. But, I'm still on board, and I'll be watching.
All right. We've got another link in the show notes for you, folks. Not one of the shows we're regularly watching. A new one called The Miniature Wife. This is a show coming to Peacock. And this one is a take on something we've seen many classic movies and done in TV shows for years. The idea that someone suddenly mistakenly gets shrunk. And that person is played by Elizabeth Banks. So quite a bit of visibility there for someone there. But we have the husband who's an inventor and has a machine, as you can imagine, that can shrink things. And I'm not sure what the exact premise is, but the idea from the trailer is he brought it home and she inadvertently activated it, and now she's tiny. So it's a series. I thought this might, when I first saw the trailer, might be a movie idea, but actually it looks like it's an ongoing series, and it's going to be on Peacock. So premiering early April timeline, April the 9th. So I think I'm going to give this a check, see what it's like. Could be interesting. I mean, we all know the kind of jokes you tend to get in this scenario, so we'll see if this one works. But I think I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah, this one, I don't remember us ever talking about this series. I'll check it out. The trailer was interesting enough that I'll give it a try.
Yeah, that trailer did look interesting to me. I think I'll try it, but I don't know. There's something about it being on Peacock. Every show, genre show even, that's been on Peacock has always been kind of for me when I've watched it. So I guess it's just a bad taste in my mouth from Peacock, but I'll definitely check it out.
Yep. As always, it'll come down to what we get on screen. All right, next up are our trailer run through. We do have a show we enjoyed. We're looking forward to coming back, and Wendy's going to talk a little bit about the Librarians.
Yeah, the next chapter of The Librarians, the sequel to the show that we really enjoyed a few years ago, is coming back for season 2. This is a teaser, and it is just a teaser. It's about 30 seconds, and it says it's coming soon to TNT. Recall last year, season 1 premiered on May 25th, so I'm thinking it'll probably be similar timing. Hopefully maybe in April, but probably maybe in May.
Yeah, that one, it looked interesting to me because I did surprisingly enjoy the first season of this next chapter. It looked better than I had hoped. Let's put it that way. And I enjoyed it. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to the next season.
Yeah, we saw some of the stuff in this teaser we had seen at the end of the previous season when they put a trailer up real quickly. So there wasn't like there was a ton of new content. I think this is one of those, hey, reminder, we're still here. And they did say it was coming this year. So in terms of how soon that is, I guess we shall see. But the fact they're putting out a new teaser is a good sign. Hopefully we get a formal trailer when they do give us the date. So it was just fun to be reminded that, this fun show will be back soon. Moving on to the next one, Brent's going to tell us a little bit about something called Lanterns.
Something called Lanterns. Yeah, this was the DC.
What?
Yeah, wow. Never heard of that before. Something called, DC Comics has the Green Lantern universe, as you know. And they have sorry, we're poking fun at Kevin here because he's just not into the animated stuff that we've been into before. But anyway, HBO Max is going to have a DC show called Lanterns. It's going to be obviously a TV series, not a movie. And it's going to be a very down-to-earth sort of almost buddy cop style, street level, as they say in the comic TV adaptation world, version of the Lantern Corps. And it's apparently going to be, at least the trailer indicates that at least the first season is going to be Hal Jordan, the older Hal Jordan, who obviously we all know was played miserably in a movie a while back. Anyway, we won't talk about that or think about that one. He's going to be training Jon Stewart, his replacement eventually, or at least as he calls him, his substitute teacher. And the teaser shows some aspects of the Green Lantern Corps later on and a little bit of powers, but it's really very street level, and it's going to come out in August of 2026. And I don't know about you, but I'm down to watch it and check it out. I like the Green Lantern storyline. Wendy and I both love the animated series that was out several years back. And it was really well done. So I'm hopeful that even though this is more street level, more gritty, if you want to call it that it might just be as fun. So definitely checking it out.
Yeah, no, this, looked interesting to me. As you folks all know, not something I'm deep into or have paid a lot of attention to, but I do understand where it's coming from. So, I watched it and went, this could be interesting. So got me at least paying attention.
Yeah, the trailers that I've seen, it's definitely, I would call it the HBO-ification of the characters. Brent called it street level. It's more of that dark humor, I would say. Even in the trailer that we saw when Hal Jordan, gives one of his first tests to Jon Stewart. I like the dynamic between them. I like that Hal Jordan is not just sort of the buttoned up superhero type at all. And it also has a great additional cast. Nathan Fillion will be in it playing Guy Gardner, who he already has been on screen in movies. It's got Garrett Dillahunt, Jason Ritter. So I'm looking forward to this.
Alrighty, and the next item that we're looking forward to, link in the show notes, is a new series being executive produced by the Duffer Brothers, who did Stranger Things. This is a new Netflix series called The Burrows. So link in the show notes is to an article that has a couple of photos from it. This is described as a mystery series, kind of part suspense, part scary, part exciting. These are the phrases that are being used to describe this show. That's coming in later May to Netflix, but very strong cast members. You got folks here like Alfred Molina, Gina Davis, Alfre Woodard, Bill Pullman, and several others. So we're going to get a chance to find out a little more, I'm sure, soon with teasers or trailers. At this point, all you've got there are some photos and a May 21st drop date on Netflix. So I'm being Duffer Brothers, I'll at least be giving the first couple of episodes a try.
Yeah, I mean, the Duffer Brothers, I'm sure, attract all kinds of people who would be interested to work with them. So I'll be wanting to check it out. I'm interested based on the people that they've gathered. They didn't really give us much of anything about what it is, although tonally it's going to be, I would say, similar to Stranger Things, where it'll have, a mystery, it'll have some scary, eerie stuff, it'll pull your heartstrings. I hope it will. That's kind of their brand. But hopefully we'll see that continue.
Yeah, they've announced some good casts so far, but like you two, the Duffer Brothers have earned a lot of credit with me. So regardless, even if they didn't announce a great cast or interesting people, I'd still check it out for sure at this point.
Yep, just a couple of months away. So again, hoping for a trailer to get a much stronger feel for what it is very soon. All right, next up, Wendy's got some info about Game of Thrones.
Yes, we know that HBO wants to keep milking that cash cow of Game of Thrones, and they are now going to do it through a movie or maybe a trilogy of movies that's going to be centered around one of my stories that I was hoping would have been a series, which was the original conquest of Westeros by Aegon the Conqueror. And hopefully we'll see the doom of Valyria. Valyria is where the Targaryens came from, and there was we'll call it a low-level extinction event in their neighborhood, which was why they came to, Aegon came to Westeros. So there's no details yet about how big it's going to be or not, but the person behind it, in terms of the writing, is going to be somebody new, Beau Willimon, who was involved in Andor and House of Cards previously before that. So it'll be interesting to see how the relationship goes with George R.R. Martin as they develop this out. A lot of people are saying that it's probably going to be similar to Dune, which has 3 movies. It's certainly a big enough story that it could, and probably a big enough budget that it might need it, because this is the time when every Targaryen had a dragon and they were using them to conquer Westeros. So, and that's definitely been one of the challenges of House of the Dragon's budget has been, the number of dragons that are involved. So, the good news, I guess, is that with all of this behind the scenes things being sold, the good news is the people that bought it really like Game of Thrones on HBO. So, we'll see what happens. Originally, there were plans previously to turn this into a whole series, instead of feature films, but, now, they're going to go the movie route, and we'll see what happens with that. There's also a possible animated series coming, centered around one of the other characters in the universe as well. But I'm looking forward to this. There's been wild speculation about casting already. I hope they go for somebody young and unknown. I think that, that would be a good way to go for this. But who knows? They might try to use that, the actor pull as part of the draw. But I think there's enough audience just from the Game of Thrones brand itself to pull people in.
Yeah, and also if you think of it, the Lord of the Rings movie series, I don't think they had really big name people drawing as actors people were being drawn by the source material and by, the setting and stuff and the fantasy aspect of it, which is the same thing going with Game of Thrones. I'm kind of open to this. I'm open to the possibility of enjoying them. The reason being that there have been 3 major Game of Thrones television shows that I've consumed, and I've had 3 totally different reactions to them. The original Game of Thrones, I was kind of like entertaining, but not really a big fan. The House of the Dragon, I have not even had any interest in at all. And then, of course, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, I've loved, have been a fan of that. So, this could go either way with me. So I'm open to the possibility.
Yeah, I'm going to be very curious, as Wendy said, what the casting turns into. I mean, I'm, shall we say, a casual fan, enjoyed the series. So, my interest in the movies might come down to who is it and, what do we see as far as trailers once we get much further down the line there. But I think, like Wendy pointed out, this is the cash cow they're going to go back to, but that's okay. If they do it right, I can enjoy it.
Yeah, it's also why I was surprised they decided to go the movie route instead of the series. But it could also be they just want to make a lot of money in a couple of years. And maybe they think, 2 or 3 movies might get them as much money as it would to do a series.
We shall see. All right, final news item talking about shows going to other platforms. Brent's going to tell us a little bit about some stuff coming for Wheel of Time.
I'm sure Kevin is really torn over this one because one of his favorite shows is Wheel of Time, but one of his most disliked forms of shows is animated. So Wheel of Time is coming back as an animated series and a video game and more, potentially. The TV show Arcane, which Kevin did like, and it is animated, and the Riot Games League of Legends veteran Thomas Vu is working with a whole bunch of people, including the IP holder for Wheel of Time, the producers of the Amazon TV show, and they have slated that they want to produce a new video game, at least one, at least an animated feature, and maybe more, and an animated TV series, all based in Wheel of Time. They don't have any more details yet. They don't have any scripts or anything that I can tell. They definitely don't have a production studio. I mean, they have a production studio, pardon me. They don't have a distributor or streamer. So they've got the producers and the production studio on board. They just need to find somebody who's willing to distribute or stream it. Once they can do that, it sounds a lot like the animated Firefly show in that regard. Once they do that, they can move forward with it. But they wanted to make sure everybody knew that they've got all their ducks in a row, with the exception of that distribution part, for the continuation of Wheel of Time.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I'm interested in. As Brent said, I mean, Wheel of Time, the TV series still is, even though it's not learning anymore, one of my favorites. I thought very, very well done. But as many folks know, with the long-running book series, some of the book folks, weren't as big fans of the show. They kind of felt some choices were made that were not good choices. So if it gets another shot as an animated series, obviously with something as epic as Wheel of Time and the expense, trying to do it animated is something that could work much better for a much longer running show as far as telling the story, because there is some epic stuff in there. And as Brent also said, with the IP ownership and video games and other stuff, they're, much like with Game of Thrones, you got something that's got a lot of folks interested in it. You got to find ways to try to make some money and bring it to the fans. So it will be interesting to see what will develop. I mean, I'm still following some folks who are big Wheel of Time fans on social media and YouTube and so forth. So I saw some mentions of this. I guess we'll see what develops.
Yeah, I would be happy to see more in this universe. I was very disappointed that we ended so abruptly. Animation is definitely cheaper when it comes to all the thrilling effects that we want to see than live action. So, hopefully we'd see more story, and I would love it if we had some of the actors who were involved to be part of the actors behind the voices. But even if they started with new people playing those same characters, I would still be interested to see it.
Yeah, definitely going to be keeping an eye on this. All right, to finish us out here in our water cooler, we have a Tuner Minute. This is one that I recorded, and I titled it Smaller Chunks. In some previous Tuner Minutes, we've asked questions about and talked a little bit about when it comes to choosing to watch a show, whether you'll only watch it on a nice, larger screen or in your, shall we say, TV viewing room. Certain shows have earned it that you want to see it in big style, shall we say, as opposed to on your tablet or your phone. In a similar vein, for today's Tuna Minute, I want to ask about, when it comes to watching your shows, whether the available time that you have has to match at least the length of the show. Meaning, if a show episode is 45 minutes, will you only watch it when you have at least 45 minutes of time? In other words, wanting to go completely from beginning to end. Or will you watch a show in much smaller chunks, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, and come back to it later? And when you're doing that, will you only do that for the shows, let's say, that maybe are near the bottom of your viewing list, ones you aren't as engaged in? Or will you take even the show that you absolutely love and watch it in smaller time increments?
Oh, so this is an interesting question, Kevin. I do not watch things if I don't have the time. I mean, at least I don't intend to. I definitely sit down to watch something knowing that I have enough time to watch it from beginning to end. And if it's a show I really love, I definitely would not be happy watching it in small chunks. Rewatching, that's different. But for the first time, I definitely want to sit down and see the whole thing, in quote, one bite. If it's supposed to be 40 minutes, I will spend the 40 minutes and watch from start to finish. And I don't know that I've ever consciously decided that. But I also pretty much watch everything on my TV too. There's really nothing I watch on my iPad or on my computer, in little bits and pieces. But I'm going to be very curious to hear what others do.
Well, before I get started on the time question, I did want to say I have small, medium, and large options where I routinely watch stuff. I do sometimes watch stuff on my phone, little bits and here and there, but I have my computer and a secondary monitor on my main computer, which is where I watch probably 90% of the stuff I watch. And then anything that I consider really, I really like this or I really want to see this, I'll go watch on the big TV that's in my office as well. I'll go sit in the comfy chair and watch it on the big TV. So I have small, medium, and large options. But time-wise, I don't give it thought, honestly. I will start watching something because I want to watch it or I have to watch it, one or the other. I mean, and on this podcast, it's one or the other. Either I really enjoy the show and I really want to watch it, or I feel like I have to watch it to talk about it. But I'll just start watching it. And if something comes up, I have to pause it, go back later, or resume later even, just close the window and resume later. I'll do that. It doesn't bother me. I will sometimes start to watch stuff as I'm laying in bed at night trying to, wind down for the day. I'll put on something and start watching it. Usually I fall asleep right in the middle of watching it, so I have to go watch it all over again anyway. But I've done that from time to time. So it really doesn't matter time-wise. It doesn't have to fit into the time I've allocated, and I don't usually allocate time for watching. I guess if I'm watching it on the big screen in my office, Kevin, that's the only time where I say, all right, I'm sitting down and I'm watching this. I'm watching this whole thing. Because I don't think I've ever really paused. I mean, I've paused it for obviously hitting to the bathroom or getting a drink or something, but I don't think I've ever stopped and resumed later on the big screen. If it's one of those, 5-10% of the shows that I feel are worth really watching on the big screen or I really want to watch on the big screen, those I will sit down and make the time for. The rest of it, the vast majority of the stuff I watch on the second screen on my computer, and I just start watching it. If I have to shut it down and resume it later, I just do so. I don't really care.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's why I'm curious, too, to hear from some of our listeners. I found myself, maybe the last 2 to 3 months, just some real life things going on, and I haven't had as much, basically as much time as I had before to watch things, and certainly not as much extended time, shall we say. So I've and then I've caught myself getting behind on things because, again, I wanted to do a full, let's say 45 minutes, give or take from many of our shows, window to watch something. But I was finding I was having 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there to, I could focus, but that was all I could get. So I kind of just fell into doing this a bit. And I did find, which won't surprise folks, for me certainly, and I think some of you, that it certainly was not my, shall we say, top tier, doing the air quotes there, shows that I might love. Very honestly, many of the episodes of Paradise that I haven't been loving here in season 2, I was watching them in little 15 and 20 minute things, in chunks as I had some time. Because it's okay, I have got some time. I do want to watch this. I just don't love it yet, but let me throw that part on and then, make a note of where I was and pick up from there. I haven't really got into a good rhythm of it. I've certainly found where I'm, starting up the next half of the episode going, okay, where were we? What kind of happened? Even if it was only the day before. That might just be a function of age and not remembering things as well, or just not doing it in these small sets. So that's what made, kind of gave me the idea for the 200-minute side of it. So, if things settle down and I get more time in large chunks again, will I still do these shorter ones? I don't know. But right now, if I'm going to try to keep up with as many shows as I can, I got no choice. So I am kind of doing it. I won't say forced, but I'm kind of doing it because it's just the way life is right now.
Kevin, I have a question. Do you feel like you remember where you left off? Or do you have to kind of remind yourself?
Well, there's two parts to that. Number one, when I find myself watching only part, I let it, because you folks all know I use an app to track it. I find myself noting the time code because oftentimes these apps, whether it's on the phone, tablet, or the TV, don't remember where I left off. That annoyed the heck out of me the first couple of times I was doing this. Is I'd watch the first 17 minutes, and then I go to sit down on a new device and open it up, and it wanted to start at the beginning. So I literally am making at least a note of the time code. But as far as the content part, at first I wasn't doing a great job remembering where we were and had to back up at least a couple of minutes. I guess maybe now that I've started to do it a little more over the last few weeks, I guess my brain's gotten a little better of at least remembering what had happened. So I guess I'm training my brain a little bit there. But we'd love to hear you folks. If this is something you've tried and failed or something you do regularly or whatever, please let us know. Love it on the Discord or dropping us an email or a voicemail. And we'd love to hear from it. And, always enjoy when you folks take the time to let us know. All right, that's going to finish us out here. Water cooler, we're going to go over back porch. We got a good handful of shows we want to touch on since it's been a few weeks since we chatted.
Today we talk about School Spirits, Star Trek Starfleet Academy, Paradise, One Piece, and Monarch.
First up in the back porch, we're going to kick things off talking about the last couple of episodes of Season 3 of School Spirits, and we're going to let Brent lead that one.
Yes, the last couple of episodes. First of all, I want to start by saying I was a little disappointed with the cliffhanger at the finale because I had anticipated it. I kind of sensed it immediately as soon as Maddie's mother was basically saying goodnight to her or whatever. I was like, wait a minute, the actor is doing it just slightly wrong enough that I'm like, there's something. Oh, and then I made the connection immediately and said, oh, okay, well, she's now possessed. And sure enough, she was. And that's the cliffhanger. She's possessed by the van guy, the evil spirit. Which makes sense, I guess. He's looking for people in a position where they can influence, and he can get what he wants, which I don't know exactly what that is, but power, maybe, I don't know. But she is in that kind of a position since she's Maddie's mother, in that sense. So, I also honestly really thought it was kind of cool that, we had Wally, after Simon was pulled away or went through, a door or a portal or whatever, Wally deciding, since his door had been there ever since Maddie was brought back to her body, Wally's had his door, but he hasn't wanted to go through because he's in love with Maddie. He doesn't want to leave her. But he realizes that Simon is extremely important to Maddie's best friend. So he makes the sacrifice, and he likes Simon too, makes the sacrifice and goes through his door, thinking that he might be able to find Simon and somehow bring him back or get him back so that he can get back into his body because he's not really dead. And he didn't think it was fair that this happened to Simon and all of that. So I really enjoyed the time in this, this in-between land. Because it almost seems like it's a purgatory, right? You got the spirits on our on our plane of existence, and then they go through their doors and they go to this sort of limbo sort of area, and then they cross the river, as we saw at the end, where the preacher and the children are on the other side of the river. They've crossed over. They're in heaven, wherever they're going, right? So we've got the time in the purgatory. We've got a number of people still there. Janet is still there, for instance, and is trying to help guide Simon initially. Although Simon can't remember who he is or what he is, but Maddie, in one of her kind of visions, or her I don't know what she's astral projecting or what you would call it if you try to label it as something, goes through a door she sees and ends up in the same place. And of course, she runs into Wally, who's trying to find Simon. So there was some great stuff in there. I loved the shipper in me. I didn't really like Maddie and Wally at first, but I kind of dig them now. And so I was really happy to see that they could actually physically contact each other in there. That was awesome when they're in that place. But Maddie and Simon go back, and Maddie's trying to say, "Everybody else, come with us," and then the door slams shut, and she's potentially lost Wally forever, and Wally's lost her forever. But Wally made that sacrifice, decided to make that sacrifice, which is very touching and moving as well. But a lot of cool stuff in there. I'm a little, I guess I'm going to say a little disappointed that our superintendent has decided, that they kind of almost cheaped out on her storyline and just said, okay, well, she can't get what she wants, so she's just going to burn the place down. And then there was that frantic struggle to try to figure out how to try to put it out, and then they realized they really couldn't put it out, so the ghosts couldn't, even if they could get the water to be, physical or material for a while. But then they realized they could make themselves be seen, so they go through that little hole again through the portal thingy and allow themselves to be seen, so that they can tell everybody, get out, there's a fire, and also at the same time mentioning who started it. But then, of course, the superintendent who had been possessed by our bad guy got her head whacked. And I don't know if she lived or not. I'm not sure I picked that up from the show. I'm guessing she didn't die from that strike to the head. But it was enough that the ghost jumped out of her and then jumped into Maddie's mom. So, I don't know, a lot of good stuff. I'll leave it to you guys to talk about what you, or not both of you, because I don't think one of you is watching, but I think, you're both watching. What do you guys think of it?
Yeah, for me, it was interesting. I think maybe last time we recorded, the time before, when we were setting up our discussion items, none of us wanted to talk too much about school spirits, but it wasn't in a negative way. It was in the show's moving through the season really well, and let's talk about it when it gets to the end, because I recall when I look back at my ratings for this season, they were all very strong episodes. I thought they did a good job of kind of coming up with some new story bits to use. I came to this show late. I greatly enjoyed it. I watched season 1 and 2 together, and I kind of felt this is a show where I'm like, I'm not sure where they're going to go if they get another season. But the idea of having some folks be able to go in and out of shall we say, ghost world, if you will, or not of this plane, bringing in the stuff of what's going on in the hospital with her dad and everything else with some interesting stuff. Having Simon be off the board, so to speak, for a while with what he had to do. The whole stuff with the church and the kids and all. I thought they did a good job of bringing some new stuff in, and I really was digging all of the different character relationships, whether romantic or otherwise, as we were having things happen this season. So this was a show every week I was like, hey, I'm glad I get to go back into this world and see what's going on. While I don't think I rated any of the episodes throughout the season like, well, watch it now, I also didn't have any like, low watch it soon. It was a very steady climb, I thought, for the most part all season. There were, as you point out, Brent, a couple of bits towards the ends where like, okay, we kind of wrapped that a bit quicker. I wish the Jennifer Tilly character had gotten a little more to do, because she is such a fun actress when she, chews into some scenery and what's going on, and didn't really get a ton with her near the end, but it wasn't in a bad way. It just maybe didn't quite go as far as I wanted. But overall, I greatly enjoyed the season.
Yeah, I thought the season was probably the best one we've had. I really liked that Xavier, and I was kind of thinking that maybe Wally is going to stay on the other side, because it seemed like Xavier really stepped up as a character in terms of what he was doing for the dad in the hospital, the other guy whose name I can't remember, but the one who had been possessed by the evil town dude for many, many years. I was really happy that they got his body back for him. The whole storyline with Meg Tilly, the superintendent, supervisor, whatever she was, I don't remember her title, And her daughter, how the daughter was, constantly looking to try to blame Maddie for things. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to like that storyline, but I thought they did a really good job of tying it back with the idea that if the school is destroyed, then these ghosts are going to be, forever in this other, they can't get their door because the place that they died is gone. So I liked all that in terms of story and character moments. It was really hard to see Maddie, losing herself when she kind of zoned out as she was looking for what was her door and kind of going to the other side. And Brent, I don't know if it's astral projection. It felt like it was, but they never called it that. It was also nice how much they got both Maddie and the mother to have some resolution with the father. When the father tells the truth that this necklace that Maddie had always, cherished and thought her father gave it to her, and in fact, it was really from her mother, that her mother finally believes what has actually happened to her. So that's why it was extra tough at the end when it's like, oh, the evil guy is in her mother. So that's going to be creating some probably really awful mother-daughter issue stuff that's happening because this evil guy is in the mom. And I did really like that Wally did sacrifice himself for Simon because he's like, Simon's alive. He really didn't want someone living to be stuck. And both Wally and the dad are still on the other side. So I'm going to be curious to see how they deal with that, if they can get back somehow. I also like the technique that they used in the story of having Judy be there for a while so she, knew the lay of the land and could explain what was happening, that she was trying to help Simon. And then when they go into the memories through looking at reflective surfaces, mirrors and water and stuff, I liked that as an interesting way to explain how people get stuck there. So there was a lot that I liked about this season, from both story and character perspective. And now that we have Simon back, I feel like we're ready to conclude this story, though. I gotta say, because I just feel like we've put Maddie through a lot. And there needs to be some kind of resolution and steady state or peace for this person.
I also really dug the scene where Mr. Martin decided to stay back with his friend, his childhood friend, that he had run away from or felt guilty about before. He's going to stay with him.
Yep.
Thought that was great. Also, we got the big other reveal at the end that Yuri discovered. The barrier's gone. Whatever happened.
Oh, yeah.
Broke down the barrier, so these ghosts could theoretically go anywhere.
Yeah, I thought the same thing in the sense that they've done a good job of bringing in these other bits and giving us stuff that wasn't, shall we say, the straight line part of where they had gone in season 1 or 2. So that's a very good sign, I think, to challenge us a bit and give us some different perspectives on the different ghosts and some of the different planes of who was where. So good on them that way. Alrighty, next show we want to discuss is going to be the ending for season 1 of Star Trek Starfleet Academy, and we'll let Wendy lead that one.
Yeah, so, season 1, one of the major story arcs was around Caleb and his mother and New Spraka and Nala's involvement in, these terrible situations that had befallen this kid and his mother, and Newsbraka blamed the Federation for the destruction of his planet, and his mother, she was imprisoned by Starfleet, and we kind of got the truth coming out about some of that, which I appreciated. The thing I really liked about sort of the 2-episode conclusion, though, was more around the Starfleet, the Star Trekness of it, with, the ship separating and Jet Reno, not the captain, but the commander, getting these kids to step up and do Starfleet things. They had to solve problems themselves. It was life or death. That was probably some of the stuff I enjoyed the most, was around how they solved the problem with the mines, and just working as we expect people in Starfleet to do and solve real problems. So I liked that a lot. And I also liked the problem that they created where, the whole fleet is surrounded by by these mines, and they're on the other side. And, I really liked that. I liked how they used the idea of the frequency that you're in the transporter to hide the kids from Newsbraka when they first get on the ship. So I was very pleased with how they decided to resolve that story. I also did finish thinking, great, season 2, bring on some new kids. Honestly, I could care less about pretty much any of these kids in terms of their careers in Starfleet. I would be happy to see a brand new bunch of people. I don't know what they plan for this show, but it wouldn't bother me at all if we got a whole new set of students in season 2, or certainly a big shift in the focus of the show. We've talked about season 1 being, 90210, and that's definitely something I don't like very much about it. But one of the other things I did appreciate was with, I'm going to forget her name, but the Betazoid character kind of leveling up on her powers, and I'm not entirely sure about how they use them to find her, Caleb's mother, but I like that she finally came to some level of mastery of her powers, and Caleb appreciating them versus just fearing them as well. Holly Hunter was fantastic this whole season, and with the whole trial thing when she is defending what was done, pointing out that these were still people who committed crime that was happening, but also when she probed the whole question about Newsbraka's premise that the Federation had destroyed his planet, and then, confirming what color was the light in the sky. It was red. That's not what Starfleet uses when they attack anyone. They didn't attack you. It turned out, they had accidentally ignited their own atmosphere. So I liked that resolution, because it always felt pretty bad that if the Federation had attacked them, but it turned out they didn't. So there was a lot that I liked about it. As I mentioned, the whole everything with Jet Reno and the kids, if the whole show is that in the future, I would be watching it and really enjoying it if it were. it was also interesting when they had to reboot the doctor, and he couldn't communicate very clearly, and how they incorporated that to help and hinder their tasks as well. So I was happy with, like I said, how they wrapped up some of these bigger story elements, and I am curious how they're going to move forward with season 2. I would certainly like to see more Tilly. She was only in one episode, and it wasn't one of the best episodes in my view. And I would like to see more of the teachers doing Star Trek things to teach the kids in season 2.
Yeah, I follow, what you're mentioning in terms of ideas. I did see something that was a little concerning for me, in that I read somewhere that they've already wrapped filming on season 2, which means they didn't see a lot of the feedback on season 1 issues, I don't think, from fans and such. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not sure. I would have hoped they would have seen that there was some concern about the tonal changes and the, stories being all over the map. But maybe they internally saw that themselves, is my hope, in terms of making some adjustments. Because as you pointed out, and I did with my reviews, these last 3 episodes of the season, I greatly enjoyed. It's funny because when this show does things right, it does it really well. And when it does it wrong, in my opinion, it does it really bad. So it's kind of like it's been extremes for me in terms of enjoyment of the episodes. And when you got that finale, when you got folks like Holly Hunter, and Paul Giamatti, and Tatiana Maslany together, going on against each other and stuff. I mean, this is great on-screen things. Put it in a Star Trek universe. But a lot of the stuff isn't, because they go back to the 90210 model, and then all of a sudden we're in life and death, and then we go back to 90210 model, and then we're life or death. It's been too whiplashy for me to enjoy it as much as I want to. But there is still characters, actors, and some story bits that I'm really enjoying. So, it finished out, stronger than it was at some earlier points. I will watch, I plan to watch season 2. I'm just a little concerned if they didn't adjust things much, then it might still have some of the same yo-yo effect, if you will. Maybe that's another term, up or down. So I guess we'll wait to see. Other than that, it's just speculation. So I'm going to be, as we often say, cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I hear you. I was also thinking at the end of this season, it was like you had Tatiana Maslany as this mother character. She was barely in the story. And what would her function be in the future, right? She's not in Starfleet. I think technically she's still a criminal. So I think she's an escaped prisoner. So it's going to be, to your point, interesting to see where things go. I mentioned I don't really, I kind of don't care if I see these characters again, the students. That's not entirely true, but I really would like to see more of them develop as people within Starfleet. The one whose father is the great commander, general, whatever his title is, and she wants to be captain. I can't remember any character's name, which tells you how much they mean to me. But she's interesting. The AI is interesting to me, the holographic character as well. The Klingon less so, but I think hopefully they've gotten past his, history baggage, which seemed to be the point of most of the stuff we learned about these kids was, what's their baggage. And now we can actually learn more about what they're capable of in the future.
Yeah, again, I would hope so. In that article that I saw about the shooting already completed, they did say that neither Paul Giamatti or Tatiana Maslany would be in season 2. So we're probably
Yeah,
gonna get more kids.
I was hoping that I do think that a little Paul Giamatti goes a long way as the character. I think it's good that he's done.
So we shall see. All right, next show we want to talk a little bit about. Going to let Wendy lead. Her and myself talking a little bit about Paradise season 2 so far.
Yeah, so I understand, or maybe we'll find out. But my frustration with Paradise has been it's all backstory, and it's like, when are we going to have the plot happen? So we have the end of season 1, and we've discovered there's some conspiracy type things happening between Sinatra, Jane, the Secret Service agent, that's being uncovered, and then we get the Secret Service agent, I'm going to forget his name, Sterling K. Brown, going to look for his wife because he hears her on the radio, and I expected that to be the story starting point, and instead we're starting with people on the outside in Graceland. And I actually thought it was brilliant that you had these survivors that were able to basically use Graceland as their bunker. And I really liked the actor who played the survivor. I recognized her from other things. But we got the introduction of the boyfriend, baby daddy, who is also, for whatever reason, wants to attack the base in Colorado. But I was really disappointed. I was like, this is not the story I was expecting to watch. And it was fine. But then once she actually finds the Secret Service agent, and they come to a meeting of minds around, okay, I'm going to help her, and then we're going to go find his wife in Atlanta. She dies, and he gets a baby out of it, and I was like, what? How is? So I struggle with the plausibility that he can be traveling to Atlanta on a horse with a newborn baby and all that, and how's he even just finding formula? But anyway, then we get the backstory about the wife, and I was fine with that, trying to be patient with more like main story not advancing. And once we got to the little group, the backstory about the mailman who's in love with her, that he's the one that is, ultimately going to be a bad person. I just started getting a lot of the Walking Dead vibes, and it's like, that's not a good thing for me, because that is frequently, a lot of conflict and death that is ultimately, advances nothing. So, we've gone more than halfway through the season, and now we have one episode back in Colorado, quote, under the dome, inside. And we get the backstory on Jane, which is fine. We already knew she was a bad person. Now we know, she's even more warped than we thought, but we still don't know her agenda. And hopefully, now that the boyfriend, I can't remember his name, is knocking at the door and about to have a meeting, and the Sinatra and Jane are going to have a meeting with them. We'll see what happens. But I'm assuming, we talked in the news about the show getting renewed for season 3. I'm assuming there's going to have to be some big battle, internal, strife to come to some resolution then, to resolve this thing. But I'm not sure I'm quite as interested in that story about it's sort of like The Last Ship. Once they got things a little bit under control, then it all became about how to reform the government, and to me it became a much less interesting show. So we'll see what happens. I'm happy that the Secret Service agent found his wife, and I'm hoping that means now we're going to go to Colorado and go back to the story that I was watching. But it feels like we've just been on a whole side quest so far, and it was a little frustrating.
Yeah, more than a little frustrating for me, because as you said, it's the concern about at the end of season 1, well, I'm not sure how much more story is here. The season 2 answer is, yeah, none. Because we've, as you said, we spent like 15 minutes over the course of 6 episodes back in the bunker where we spent all of season 1, where this idea of a society being, restarted underground because of, an apocalypse event and all that is just turned into, like you said, The Walking Dead, Paradise Edition, or whatever we want to call it. I mean, starting out the first episode going to Graceland with people we have not met, having a whole episode about the mailman who we've never met, and all these other stuff. It's like, we're just wandering, folks. We got no idea where we're going. This is classic Lost or other shows where they couldn't write to an end point. So hoping that announcement about a season 3 and it being the end means we can get back to the bunker, if you will, back to the dome, with some interesting characters that are there that we had in season 1, Sinatra and, yes, Jane, I don't know what she is yet, psychopath or whatever, killer for sure, to see what happens. Because, I'm not caring about these people and what happened to them when, the volcano exploded or whatever the hell it was that created a tsunami that took out most of the world and all that. I mean, that part, I don't need to see it from 6 different people's perspective. I don't care. I want to know about the characters I enjoyed from season 1. So, and we're 6 out of 8 episodes in. So we've only got 2 episodes left in the season. So hopefully that gets us closer to Colorado, which leads to interesting stuff in season 3. But it's been a big disappointment for me in season 2. As you said, there's some very good performances. Some of these characters that we're getting these one-offs with or whatever, good acting job. There's some good writing, but I don't care about them. It's not a genre show anymore. I don't want to watch that. So disappointing, but hoping the last 2 episodes will maybe snap us closer to where we want it to be.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely had what I would call the season 2 syndrome, where it's like, you didn't really know what your story was, or they have an end. The middle is pretty murky right now. I would have thought if they were going to focus on heavy backstory, it would have just been on the wife and what happened to her, and not this arduous thing to get him to end up with a baby that he's bringing along, and now he's got this whole commitment to the baby daddy, and what's he going to do when he finds out who that guy is, because we don't know what his whole vendetta is for. I mean, he's certainly being presented as not a good person. Ultimately, that might be the case for everyone in the story. They're just all not good people. But, I hope that isn't the showdown that we're talking about, is who's going to keep the baby, But we'll see.
Yep. Again, let's hope it drives back to course corrects to where it's enjoyable and makes me want to watch season 3.
Yeah, I hope so too. I didn't get a great feeling with the whole where we have finished now, because it isn't going to just be a happy reunion with the wife.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Like I say, 2 episodes. Let's see what they can pull together. All right, moving on. The next show I wanted to touch very briefly on, since I'm the only one currently watching it, is One Piece Season 2. And I know Brent is hoping to, when he gets some time, be able to watch it. So maybe in a future podcast we can talk about the season as a whole. But I enjoyed season 1, but didn't love it. But I definitely was intrigued and understood why people did. So I was looking forward to season 2. And as I said early on, I've watched half of it, the first 4 episodes. And I definitely got to say, they definitely leveled it up. Just in general, in terms of the show, and that could be a lot of season 1 had some backstory for our crew folks, that came together on the ship, and how different and all they are, but they're now one crew, working together. But the idea of what's happening to them now as they go towards the Grand Line and towards trying to find the treasure, the One Piece. There's been some very interesting characters brought in, some foils and some bad guys, very visually entertaining. It's still over the top in many ways, but with a smile on my face as I'm watching it. So I think they've done a very good job. I have not read the original material or seen the original content, so I have no idea how true it is to it. But for the guy who's just coming into what we're getting in this series, I'm enjoying it, and you can tell they're trying to definitely align with some of the previous stuff that was created in printed form or in the previous animated stuff. So it's working very good for me. I'm very interested in where we're going to go in the back half of the season. Our characters are doing a great job working together. We're getting to see each of them kind of excel at what they do, and they're also being their usual selves, being naive on some things that's creating some problems, but in an entertaining way. So definitely very much a thumbs up, and looking forward to the back half of the season.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that it keeps improving.
Absolutely. All right. Last show we're going to talk about for this podcast is going to be Monarch so far in season 2. And now that Brent's with us and on board, but we'll let Wendy give this a start for us.
Yeah. So season 2, I think we talked about like the premiere episode, but basically this whole season's been propelled by the fallout of saving Shaw, and in order to save Shaw, they had to basically let a whole bunch of Titans out as well, and that's not a great thing. So they got off Skull Island, but some other things came with them as well, and Kate is feeling, super guilty about it. The crew is joined up with Monarch, which is now on this big ship, and they're trying to stop this giant sea monster, basically, from hitting land and attacking people. And we have the guy from Monarch who, he's more of a scientist, but he gets put in charge in terms of the chain of command. And we get some, kind of uneasy alliance between him and Shaw and Keiko, and Hiroshi as well. The other thing that we have this season, and it's been a little bit draggy for me because it's been very repetitive, is a lot of the flashback story line. So we continue to go back to the 50s with the original trio of Shaw, Keiko, and Bill, I think is his name. And of course, we definitely knew from season 1 that Shaw was in love with Keiko, but she married the other guy. The other guy went off to do science and left the two of them alone. And that story ties in with the present because the sea monster was also a Titan that they encountered in the past, and they were on another island that I would call it the babies were on, and they while they were stuck on this island, they also hooked up. And it's like, do not tell me that it's going to turn out now that Hero is really Shaw's kid, that will make me roll my eyes. But it's also interesting because they create a lot of tension in the marriage right from the start, between, the mission and their personal lives. And that continues. And they also want to create this parallel between, Keiko being in love with two different women, because Hiro was in love had relationships with two different women, and is trying to, create a parallel there, which is fine, but it's to me, it's unnecessary. I find it more interesting when people have their own things happening in their life versus overly, inherited trauma from their parents. But that could just be me. But the performances are good in both, but I just, like I said, I find it a little bit draggy because from a story perspective, we covered a lot more ground in season 1 from a time and an events standpoint compared to this story, which is really probably only about a week of time has passed. But we also have now the attack on the Golden Gate Bridge. So now I'm assuming the last couple episodes we're going to get that, big finish where we somehow stop the sea monster. I'm not sure if that means we're going to have Godzilla come back or something else. I don't think it will be Kong. He seems to have stayed on Skull Island, but we'll see what they can kind of cook up. They have a device that they created that could, quote, harmonically replicate sort of the cries of the baby that would lure it, but I'm not sure how effective that will be as the one answer if they're going to come up with another one. But I'm enjoying it, but I kind of want it to break out of the sort of story structure it created, because I feel like it's not really covering a lot of new ground for me when they go back to the past timeline. I'd rather they just stick in the future and deal with the problem at hand.
And as I was telling Wendy before we started recording, I'm coming at this from a different perspective. I did not watch season 1 at all. I just saw a what you need to know for season 2 catch-up thing. So I started watching season 2, and I'm really enjoying this. I'm digging it. I think the pacing is amazing. You know how I hate slow pacing. And I think that has to do with the fact that I don't have that season 1 baggage like Wendy does. So to me, it's just kicking along at full speed, and I love it. The flashbacks I'm enjoying. Mostly again because I don't have the season 1 baggage. I don't know anything about Keiko and Shaw and Bill. I don't know anything about that. So seeing all of those flashbacks was awesome. I mean, I was picking up on stuff right and left. I was like, yeah, well, obviously Keiko and Shaw are in love, even though she's supposedly committed to this other Bill guy who I don't really know because I haven't seen a lot of him in so far in season 2. And I don't know about you, Wendy, but I thought it was kind of cool. I predicted right away. I know you chimed in on this too as something you wouldn't like to see, but as soon as I knew that those two, there was a bit of a love triangle going on there, I thought to myself, oh, well, her son in the future, Hero, is going to be Shaw's son. And I thought that was cool. You don't think that's cool, but that's just, I think, a different perspective having not seen season 1. But I think it's kind of cool. But I have nothing to do with Bill. I've just seen him in the flashback, so I don't know anything about that. But there are a lot of great characters here. I'm enjoying them. There's some kind of cardboard cutout characters involved in Monarch on the ship. Tim's not one I really like. I don't like him a lot. Kind of almost a cardboard cutout. It was interesting to see. I think it was Natalia or whoever the deputy director was. I'm like, oh, she's going to be a thorn in everybody. Wait, no, she's dead. That was fast. And as to what they're going to do about this sea creature, that unfortunately Kate basically let free, and she's got a lot of guilt over that. I personally, I'm the whole time I've been thinking it's going to have to be Godzilla. They're going to have to somehow get Godzilla to come take care of it, which I'm all for. I love Godzilla. Again, I don't have the season 1 baggage, so I don't know any of the other stuff that happened before. But coming to this fresh from season 2, I'm loving it.
Yeah, and it's interesting hearing the two of you and your perspectives on it for those different ways to see it. I mean, for me, for season 2, I thought the first couple of episodes, first 2 episodes were stronger than the last 2. I think they've kind of wandered a little bit in the last couple, a little too much angst about, I let the creatures in. In a show like this, in a situation like this, you had to make a choice, trying to save him. Yeah, it's a pretty big downside, but move on. If you're part of a crew, which she is, that's trying to quote save people, then you got to expect, take big risks. Sometimes you get big rewards, and sometimes you get big problems. But so I thought it's wandered a little last couple, but. As Wendy knows, and Brent isn't so much aware, we didn't get a ton of the creatures in season 1. Just the concept that we had a show set with Godzilla and these other big creatures was cool, and we only got a little bit of it in season 2. We've gotten more of it for sure, and even the flashbacks have included some of that too, which has made them much easier for me to not feel, hey, I already know this, even though they're showing different scenes that we would have seen. So maybe I'm between the two of you in the sense of enjoyment for season 2 so far. Definitely enjoying it, hoping that we snap back a little bit to some of the cool stuff we had in eps 1 and 2, and there were a lot of things happening quickly and less talking about it. But that's part of a story playing it out. I mean, I believe it's a 10-episode season, so we're not even halfway through it yet. We still got a lot more to play. So waiting to see, if the creatures make landfall and all the chaos that might ensue. So certainly fun, and I'm curious if they're going to take any, wild turns that might happen with some of the creature stuff rather than the expected, hey, what's the team going to do to, save San Francisco? And maybe there's something else up their sleeve we're going to still see.
Yeah, Brent, I would be fine if Godzilla comes and saves everybody. that I would not mind. I just don't have a good sense yet of what the strategy is, or we have the one young lady who's kind of the double agent. I'm going to be curious how that all plays out, and even what will happen with Monarch, because it definitely seems like they're kind of on the edge. My main thing is just, I don't need, Hero's life to be exactly the same as Keiko's was in terms of their romantic lives. I think there's more that's interesting about the fact that he's older than her and she's his mother, because of the time,
that's cool.
Time differential, and exploring that part of it than anything else.
Yeah, that's cool. And one of the reasons I probably didn't, I think I can't remember which one of you talked about it. I think Kevin saying the episodes 3 and 4 about the kind of angstiness about from Cade about letting the creatures go and stuff. That stuff was all very intriguing to me, and I was really fascinated by it because, again, didn't see season 1, didn't even know who Kate was. In episodes 1 and 2, got very little exposure to Kate. By the time episodes 3 and 4 rolled around, I was like, I want to know more about Kate. So all that stuff that you thought was just slowing it down was good for me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, see, season 1, we had a lot of angst with Kate and her half-brother and her father. That her going back to San Francisco was like, we already had a lot of angst with
we've been there
in San Francisco.
I get it.
So when she left and went back there, I was like, this is paddling, treading water.
But all exciting for me.
But I'm really glad that you just jumped into season 2 and are liking it. I think that's really good for our listeners to hear, that you don't have to watch season 1. You could just jump in and really enjoy it.
Yeah, very much encourage that if people are thinking about it.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that will wrap up our discussions in this particular podcast episode. We've had a ton of fun covering several shows, lots of news catch up. Good to be back behind the mic talking to Brent and Wendy. So hopefully you folks enjoyed it as much as we did recording it, and we look forward to any feedback or thoughts. Please, Discord or voicemail, wherever it may be. We always love getting that. So thanks for being here, folks, and we hope you have a great week.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you again soon.
Catch you next time.
We'd love to hear our listeners voice thoughts and send us feedback. Call us at 706-927-8478. Stop by our tuningintoscifitv.com blog to record a SpeakPipe message, or check the show notes and leave us comments. From the blog, you can also find links to forum discussions and subscribe to our RSS feed. Call into our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Skype account and leave us a message. Be social with us on our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Facebook page, or follow us at Tuning Into Sci-Fi on Twitter.
The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle, used with permission. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 686, recorded March 22nd, 2026.